My mom said, "You don't have a stable job anyway, just watch the kids for your brother." Then she left 3 little kids right on my doorstep. But at that exact moment, I was on a cruise ship sailing through warm Mexican waters, and my phone started blowing up with her screaming, "Get back here and fix this right now." My name is Kylie. I'm 30 years old. I'm a freelance graphic designer and content creator. I run my own business, own my apartment, and I'm doing pretty damn well for myself. But in my family's eyes, because I work from home and don't have a husband or kids, I'm the one with nothing going on, the one who's always available, the default free babysitter every Christmas. This year, they took it way too far. They didn't ask, they just decided my life could be paused, so they could have their perfect holiday without the kids. What they didn't expect was that I finally paused them instead. If you've ever been treated like the convenient one in your family, you're going to want to hear how this played out. Hit that like button if you've ever been expected to drop everything for family. Comment below what you would have done in my place, and subscribe with notifications on because this story gets wild. Let's dive in. I still remember that Christmas exactly 2 years ago, like it was yesterday, the one where everything started feeling unbearable. It began on December 23rd. I left my apartment early, drove the usual 3 hours through traffic to get to my mom's house in the suburbs. I had my overnight bag and a couple of gifts in the trunk. The moment I stepped inside, the familiar smell of pine hit me, but so did the immediate request. Mom looked up from the couch and said, "Kylie, you're here just in time. The tree is half done, and I could really use your help with the lights. They're tangled again." I spent the entire afternoon on it, untangling strings of lights, testing bulbs that didn't work, wrapping them evenly around the branches. Mom sat nearby with her phone, occasionally directing me to move a section higher or lower. Once the lights were up, I placed the ornaments one by one, the glass balls, the family heirlooms, the kids' handmade ones from previous years. I fluffed the branches, adjusted the star on top until it sat straight. By the time I finished, the tree looked beautiful, sparkling in the living room window. Then came the gifts. Mom had a pile waiting under the tree, but several still needed wrapping. She handed me the paper tape ribbons. I sat on the floor for hours, measuring, cutting, folding corners, neatly tying bows. My fingers got sticky from the tape, and my knees ached from the hard floor, but I kept going because the stack was endless. I also prepped food for the next day, chopping vegetables, marinating the ham, setting out ingredients so everything would be ready. Preston and Lana arrived the morning of Christmas Eve with Ava, who was 4, and Ethan, who was 2. The kids burst through the door full of energy, screaming about Santa and presents. I helped carry in their stuffed suitcases, diaper bags, a pack-and-play toys they couldn't leave behind. Mom hugged them all, then turned to me. "Kylie, you're a natural with the little ones. Can you watch them while we finish setting up?" That request lasted the whole day. While Mom, Preston, and Lana relaxed by the fireplace with mugs of eggnog, talking and laughing about work and old memories, I stayed with the kids. Ava wanted every present opened immediately, tearing paper everywhere. Ethan toddled around, putting everything in his mouth. I picked up scraps of wrapping, constantly folding them away so no one choked. When Ava got a new doll set, she insisted on playing right then, so I sat on the floor building it with her. Ethan got fussy mid-morning, so I carried him around, bouncing him until he calmed. Lunch came, and I prepared separate plates for the kids, small portions cut into tiny pieces, nothing they could choke on. I fed Ethan in his high chair while Ava ate at the little table. The adults had their meal at the dining table, plates piled high, wine glasses refilled. I snatched bites of my own food between wiping mouths and cleaning spills. The afternoon dragged on the same way. Diaper changes, snack time, more play. Ethan rubbed his eyes early, overtired from the excitement, so I rocked him in the guest room, singing softly until he dozed off. Ava wanted stories read over and over. The living room filled with the smell of baking cookies and roasting meat, but I only caught whiffs while chasing the kids. Then evening arrived, and the moment that still burns clearest happened. The tree lights were on full glow, everyone in cozy pajamas after quick changes. Mom clapped her hands excitedly. Okay, family photo time. Everyone in front of the tree, hurry, let's get a good one before the kids crash. Preston scooped Ava onto his shoulders. Lana stood next to him, arm around Mom's waist. They arranged themselves perfectly, smiling wide. I was across the room on the sofa, cradling Ethan, who'd just fallen asleep again after waking cranky. His warm weight pressed against my chest, his breathing steady. I didn't want to disturb him, so I stayed put, thinking I'd slip in once the timer went or someone called me. But no one did. Mom set the phone on the mantel, hit the timer, rushed back into place. Smile, flash. They checked it. Laughed. One more. Another flash. Then another, just to be sure. Preston said, "This one's great." Lana added, "Yeah, capture it before Ava starts wiggling." Not a single glance my way. "No, Kylie, come join." No. Wait a second for Kylie. Just excitement over the shots they already had. I sat there in the dim corner holding a sleeping child, staring at the group I'd made possible. The quiet kids, the clean floor, the perfect setup. And I wasn't in any of it. Later, after the children were finally down for the night, and the adults moved to the den for a movie and more drinks, I reheated leftovers in the microwave. The ham was dry by then, the sides cold. I ate standing at the counter, fork in one hand, scrolling my phone with the other to avoid the silence. A few weeks later, Mom posted the chosen photo in the family chat, the big printed version now framed and hung right above the fireplace in her living room. Everyone glowing, arms linked, tree sparkling behind them. It stayed there for the next 2 years, greeting every visitor. The perfect family Christmas memory. Only I wasn't in it. That night, eating cold food alone while their laughter drifted from the other room, the hurt landed differently. It wasn't just tiredness anymore. It was the clear, sharp realization that in their picture, literal and figurative, I simply didn't count. The call came on a late November afternoon while I was deep into editing files for a major client. I was at my desk in the apartment, surrounded by dual monitors, color palettes, open layers stacked in Photoshop. The project was a rebrand for a tech startup, high-stakes, big paycheck, and a deadline that loomed right after New Year's. My phone vibrated against the wood. Mom. I muted the music in my headphones and answered, switching to speaker so I could keep my hands free. "Hi, Mom," I said, clicking save on the latest version. "Kylie. There's my girl." Her voice was warm, almost sing-song, the tone she uses when she's about to share exciting news. "How's everything?" "Busy, as always." We exchanged the usual small talk. She asked about the weather in the city. I asked about her garden club. Then she eased into it. "So, I've been thinking about Christmas this year. Preston and Lana are completely worn out. He's pulling extra hours at the firm, and with 3 kids under 7, they barely get a moment to breathe. I kept working, dragging a vector shape into place. Yeah, that's tough. 3 is no joke." "Right," she said, as if I'd just backed her up. "That's why I had the perfect idea. They deserve a real break. Just the adults. Nice dinners out. Maybe a little getaway nearby without the chaos of toys and tantrums. And the kids can stay with you for a few days. Your place is spacious, central, and your family. They'll bring everything they need. Crib, diapers, bottles, clothes. Ava's 6 now, so helpful. Ethan's 4, full of energy. And Harper's 8 months. But she sleeps through most nights." My cursor froze mid-air. "Stay with me for a few days." "Yes, honey. Christmas Eve through the 27th or 28th, depending on their plans. It'll be quality time with the grandkids. You always say how fast they grow." I set the stylus down. "Mom, I can't. This project is massive. I'm booked solid through the holidays. Client revisions come in unpredictable waves, and I have calls scheduled." A small silence, then her voice stayed gentle. "Oh, sweetie, I know you're working hard. But you're at home, right? It's not like you have to commute or punch a clock. The kids can entertain themselves while you're on your computer. Ava can color, Ethan has his tablets. Harper mostly naps. You'll barely notice. I'll notice, I said, trying to keep my tone even. A baby needs constant feeding, changing, soothing. And the older two need attention, meals, baths. That's full time. I can't split focus like that and deliver professional work. She made a soft, understanding sound. I get it, I do. But think about your brother. He's the one carrying the family mortgage, daycare costs, health insurance for 5 people. Real pressure every day. Your deadlines are important, but they're flexible. You set your own hours. Helping out would mean everything to them. Mom, my hours are flexible, but the work isn't optional. If I fall behind, I lose the client. This isn't a hobby. Of course it's not a hobby, she said quickly, soothing again. You're talented, we all know that. But let's be realistic, the kids adore you. Ava talks about Aunt Kylie all the time. This would make memories for them. And for you. Don't you want that bond? I rub my temple. I do want to see them. But not by sacrificing my business. Maybe a day visit, or I can come to your place. That wouldn't give Preston and Lana the break they need, she replied smoothly. They've been looking forward to adult time. I only suggested you because I knew you'd understand. Family steps up for each other. The conversation stretched. Every objection I raised, she countered with another layer of gentle reasoning. How the kids would be disappointed if plans changed, how Preston had already started looking at reservations, how my apartment was perfect, quiet, neighborhood, extra bedrooms, how I was in the best position to help because my life was less complicated. When I pushed harder, Mom, I'm seriously saying no. Her tone stayed calm, almost disappointed. Kylie, please don't make this difficult. I've already told Preston you're excited about it. He's relieved, actually. Lana's been so overwhelmed. You wouldn't want to let them down at the last minute, would you? I just want everyone happy. Happy for everyone except me, apparently. Now that's not fair, she said softly. I love you just as much. This is about balance. Your brother has real burdens. You're free to help in ways he can't. That's all. I felt the familiar weight settling in guilt mixed with frustration. She never yelled, never insulted outright. Just that steady drip of implication my work wasn't as valid, my time less valuable, my refusal selfish. Finally, as I searched for another way to stand firm, she wrapped it up. Anyway, it's settled. I'll let Preston know the dates are good. The kids will be so excited. Love you, talk soon. Mom, click. The line went dead. I sat staring at the screen, heart pounding. The design file blurred in front of me. Anger surged first, hot, sharp. Then came the helplessness, the same feeling from 2 years ago when I wasn't even worth waiting for in a photo. She hadn't listened. Not once. She'd decided, informed, and hung up before I could fight back properly. And by telling Preston I'd agreed, she'd stacked the deck now. Refusing would make me the villain to everyone. I closed the laptop slowly. The project could wait a few minutes. My mind raced through the implications. Several days alone with 3 young children. No backup. No escape. My business on hold during peak season. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't about the kids missing me. It was about convenience. My convenience, or lack of it, never factored in. By evening, anger had hardened into something resolute. I wasn't going to let this slide again. After hanging up, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep, and it was a few days later before I finally checked the family email. That night, thoughts raced through my head without stop. I went over every part of the conversation, how Mom had dismissed my concerns so smoothly, making my objections sound unreasonable. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not explosive anger, but a slow burn that kept me awake until dawn. When morning came, I dragged myself to the desk, coffee in hand, trying to focus on work. but every notification or stray thought pulled me back to the call. The next day was similar. I managed some emails, but productivity was low. I caught myself staring at my phone, tempted to call Mom and lay it all out, tell her how wrong this was. But I knew the pattern. She'd listen quietly, then redirect with questions about why I couldn't just help, or reminders of how much Preston needed this. By evening, doubt crept in. Was I being too sensitive? Families helped each other, right? Maybe I could make it work. Squeeze in the kids around deadlines. On the second night, sleep was even worse. I tossed and turned, imagining scenarios. The kids arriving, chaos in my apartment, missed client calls, a baby crying while I'm on a video meeting. The manipulation felt clearer in the dark, how she never directly insulted but implied my life was less demanding, less worthy of protection. The feeling of being trapped grew heavier. By the third day, frustration won out. I needed proof I wasn't imagining it. I opened the family group email, something I rarely checked deeply. Scrolling back there, it was a message from Mom dated the day after our call. She'd written to Preston, Lana, and the extended family, great news for Christmas. Kylie is so excited to have the kids stay with her for a few days. She's been telling me how much she misses them and wants that special aunt time. Her apartment is ideal, and she's happy to give you two a well-deserved break. Can't wait for the holidays. I read it multiple times, my stomach sinking. Excited, been telling her none of that happened. She'd taken my forced silence and turned it into eager volunteering. It wasn't just planning without asking. It was broadcasting a lie to lock me in. If I refused now, I'd look unreliable, the one who backed out and ruined everything. The betrayal stung sharp. I closed the laptop and walked around the apartment, heart racing. This wasn't new, but seeing it written out made it undeniable. She wasn't hearing my no. She was erasing it. That same afternoon, I called Marley. She's my closest friend, the one who cuts through nonsense with clear logic. I recounted the call word for word, then read her the email. She was quiet at first, then said, "This is textbook manipulation, Kylie. She's not respecting boundaries. She's removing them and rewriting the story so you're the hero in her version, but the villain if you object. We talked for a long time." Marley pointed out the patterns, devaluing my career by calling it flexible, elevating Preston's stress as the only valid one, using the kids as emotional leverage. "The email is insurance," she said. "Now the whole family thinks you're on board. Backing out makes you the bad guy." Then she got practical. "Worst case, and don't let this happen if you're not home when they show up and they leave an 8-month-old outside even briefly, that's abandonment. Child Services, police reports, legal mess. In this state, it's serious. Don't let them put you in a spot where you're scrambling or liable." Her warning hit home. I'd been so focused on the emotional side, I hadn't considered the practical risks. Marley didn't stop there. "You've let this slide before because you're kind. But kindness without boundaries is just people-pleasing. This is the line, Kylie. Draw it now firmly or it'll keep moving." I thanked her, hung up, and sat with it all. The advice echoed, but acting on it felt huge. Potential family rift, accusations of selfishness. For the next few days, I wavered. I drafted messages to Mom explaining why I couldn't, then deleted them, fearing the response. Work piled up as distraction failed. I even looked at short-term nannies online, wondering if compromise was possible. But each time Marley's words pulled me back. This wasn't compromise, it was surrender. By midweek, clarity came during a quiet evening. I was scrolling travel sites, idly dreaming of escape, when a cruise ad popped up, the Mexico Riviera route, warm ports, all-inclusive luxury sailing right before the drop-off date. Solo traveler options, no questions asked. The idea sparked something defiant. Not just saying no, removing myself completely. I researched details, itinerary with stops in sunny spots, onboard amenities, reviews from solo guests. The cost was significant, thousands I'd saved for other things, but it felt worth it. Late that night, I booked it. Cabin with balcony meals included excursions optional. Confirmation email arrived and a rush of adrenaline hit. This was real. The weeks after flew in secret action. First, the locks I called a locksmith for next day's service, new deadbolts and handles throughout, no copies made for anyone. Then cameras, I ordered a full-set online doorbell with wide-view motion sensors in the hall, easy app setup for remote access. Installation took an afternoon. Testing showed clear feeds from anywhere. To avoid suspicion, I kept communication light. Texts to mom like "all set here" or "excited" for the kids with emojis. She replied happily, sending lists of allergies and schedules. I nodded along digitally while packing my real suitcase, light clothes, sunscreen, novels, nothing child-related. Work-wise, I pushed hard to clear the deck. Finished pending projects ahead, set auto replies, explaining limited availability for family time, messaged key clients about the brief offline period. Everything buttoned up professionally. As the sale date approached, nerves mixed with excitement. No more second-guessing. The plan was locked in, just like my doors. Early one morning, midway through the cruise, I was sitting on the deck sipping coffee when my phone started buzzing non-stop with camera alerts. I'd been on the ship for a few days, already settling into the rhythm of warm sun-ocean views and zero obligations. Breakfast buffets, poolside reading, evening shows, it was the kind of peace I hadn't known I needed so badly. My phone had been on Do Not Disturb except for camera notifications, just in case. The alerts came in a flood motion, detected, doorbell pressed over and over. I opened the app, heart picking up speed. The live feed loaded 2 cars pulling into my driveway back home. Mom's SUV and Preston's truck. It was the day they'd planned to drop off the kids. I zoomed in. Mom stepped out first, bundled in her winter coat, directing Preston as he unloaded suitcases from the trunk. Big ones, duffels, a stroller, bags of toys and supplies. Lana emerged from the passenger side holding baby Harper close against the cold, while Ava and Ethan jumped out, excited at first, pointing at my building. They approached the door. Mom pressed the doorbell repeatedly. Nothing. Preston knocked hard, then banged with his fist. "Kylie, open up, we're here." Mom's voice carried through the mic. Ava tugged at Lana's coat, asking something I couldn't hear. Minutes passed. They rang again, knocked louder. Phones came out, mine vibrated silently in my hand, with missed calls, but I didn't answer. Texts flooded in too, but I ignored those for now. The kids started fidgeting. Ethan whined about being cold, stomping his feet. Ava hugged herself, breath visible in the chilly air. Harper began fussing in Lana's arms, a low cry building. Lana bounced her, looking worried, pulling the blanket tighter. Preston paced the porch, red-faced. She knew we were coming at 10. "Where the hell is she?" Mom tried the handle, locked of course. She dug in her purse for something, maybe an old key, but it wouldn't work. "This isn't funny, Kylie. Come out." The crying escalated. Harper wailed outright. Ethan joined in, tears streaming. Ava looked scared now, clinging to Lana's leg. The wind picked up, snow flurries starting. Lana's voice cracked. "It's too cold, they're freezing. We can't stand here like this." Preston snapped. "She'll show up." She said she was ready. But he looked uncertain, checking his phone again. Mom kept pressing the doorbell, calling my name louder each time. More time dragged. The kids' cries turned desperate. Lana rocked Harper frantically, tears in her own eyes. "We need to get them inside somewhere warm." Preston rubbed his hands together, breath puffing. "I'll go grab coffee or something from the corner store, keep them in the car maybe." He jogged to his truck, drove off quickly. Mom and Lana huddled near the door with the kids, trying to shield them from the wind. Ava sobbed. "I'm cold, Grandma." Harper's cries pierced the audio. That's when the neighbor's door opened. Mr. Newman, the older guy next door, who'd always been grumpy about noise, stepped out in his robe. He took in the scene, crying children on the porch, bags everywhere, and his voice boomed. "What's going on here? You can't leave kids standing out in this cold. It's dangerous. Get them in a car with heat, or I'm calling the police right now. This isn't right." Mom turned plastering on her charming smile. "Oh no, it's just a mix-up. My daughter lives here. She's expecting us. Technical issue with the door." Mr. Newman wasn't buying it. "Doesn't look like anyone's home. Those little ones are turning blue. Move them now or I dial 911. Lana looked panicked, nodding. We're going. We're going." Preston pulled back up just then with a bag of hot drinks. The urgency hit. They started loading everything back into the vehicles hastily. Kids buckled in crying, still doors slamming. Mom lingered last, glaring at the door one final time, then left a flurry of voice messages I could see piling up. The driveway emptied. Silence on the feed except wind. I switched to the recorded clips later. Dozens of missed calls, texts raging from confusion to fury. Voice messages from Mom demanding, pleading, accusing me of irresponsibility. From Preston, short, angry bursts about ruined plans. That evening, as the ship sailed smooth under stars, another alert. Preston alone this time, parking sloppily. He approached the door, tried the handle, roughly even shoulder-checked it once. Key didn't work, of course. He muttered curses, the mic picked up, kicked a suitcase lightly in frustration, then left after a few failed attempts. Camera caught every second clear. Throughout it all, I watched from my cabin balcony, drink in hand waves lapping below. A mix of feelings, vindication, sharp a twinge for the kids' discomfort, but mostly relief. They'd felt the consequences of assuming. And I hadn't said a word. I never picked up, never replied, just observed as their perfect holiday cracked from the start. The days that followed on the ship passed in a peace I hadn't known in years. After witnessing the chaos through the camera, I chose one calm afternoon to act. I walked the deck as the ship glided toward the next port, sun high and warm. I took several photos of myself in that moment, leaning against the rail with the endless blue Mexican water behind me, light wind in my hair, a bright cocktail in hand, face relaxed in genuine contentment. No posing, no exaggeration, just proof of where I was and how I felt. Back in my cabin, I opened the family group chat for the first time since leaving. Unread messages stacked tall from the previous days, dozens of them timestamps showing escalating frustration. I didn't read a single one. I attached one of the photos, the one with the clearest view of the ocean, and my quiet smile, and typed the caption, "I told you I wouldn't be there. I'm living my own life." I hit send, then immediately closed the app. Phone back to full, do not disturb. Whatever explosion followed, it stayed contained in that chat, far from me. From updates that trickled in later, the impact back home was swift and complete. Every carefully arranged adult plan, the upscale Christmas Eve dinner reservation, the day trips without diapers or meltdowns, the quiet evenings they'd counted on vanished instantly. With 3 distraught children and mountains of luggage, they had 0 options left except to turn around and head to Mom's condo. The drive was miserable, kids still upset from the cold, and confusion asking repeated questions no one could answer satisfactorily. Once at Mom's, the reality of the small space hit hard. 2 bedrooms, delicate antiques on every surface, narrow hallways, nothing prepared for a toddler, a preschooler, and a crawling baby. The pack and play barely fit in the living room, blocking the walkway. Toys spilled out of bags, diapers stacked in corners, bottles lining the kitchen counter. Tempers frayed fast. Preston accused Mom of misjudging the situation, insisting she'd assured everyone I was fully on board. Lana vented about the lack of supplies, no proper baby food stocked, no high chair, constant worry about Harper reaching breakables. Mom circled back to defending her intentions, placing blame on my sudden absence for ruining everything. Voices rose over who should have confirmed more thoroughly, who assumed too much. The kids fed off the tension, cries echoing longer into the nights. Sleep arrangements turned makeshift inflatable mattresses on the living room floor, sheets draped for privacy. Meals became hurried takeout, eaten around a coffee table too small for everyone. Planned outings canceled one after another. No fancy holiday brunch. No evening without bedtime battles. Instead, quick grocery runs for kid essentials laundry, piling up cartoons, playing nonstop to buy moments of quiet. The arguments continued in waves. Quiet resentment during the day, sharper exchanges after the children finally crashed. Preston and Lana tag-teaming exhaustion. Mom feeling overwhelmed in her own home. No one got the rest or celebration they'd imagined. A couple of days into this new reality, Marley messaged me with fresh details she'd gathered from Aunt Helen. Helen always plugged into the neighborhood grapevine, and her church circle had heard versions of the story circulating widely. People discussed it after services in parking lots over group texts. How the family arrived loaded with kids and luggage, waited in the cold until the neighbor threatened police involvement, then scrambled away. Speculation mixed with sympathy for the children, quiet judgment about planning. Helen passed along the highlights without taking sides, Mom portraying herself as the shocked organizer Preston and Lana, barely on speaking terms, some moments the condo described as organized chaos. Marley added her own commentary in a follow-up text. Sounds like they're getting a full dose of what they tried to offload. Eye-opening, hopefully. I read it with detached interest, no impulse to intervene or explain. With every notification, silence the remaining cruise days unfolded untouched. Port stops brought new sights, bustling markets in Cabo with fresh fruit, and handmade crafts relaxed beach time in Mazatlan, vibrant streets in Puerto Vallarta, filled with music and color. Sea days meant pure relaxation, long breakfasts overlooking waves, afternoons by the pool, with books evenings enjoying shows or quiet dinners with ocean views. No interruptions reached me, no fresh demands or guilt. The distance felt protective, allowing space to simply exist without expectation. Each sunrise over the water reinforced the shift. The holiday I'd dreaded transformed into something mine alone, restful, unapologetic, entirely on my terms. The voyage continued carrying me further into that hard-won calm. When the ship docked in Los Angeles and I drove home in the new year, an unfamiliar lightness stayed with me the entire way. The drive from the port felt different, windows down slightly despite the winter chill music I chose playing loud, no weight of upcoming obligations. Pulling into my apartment garage, everything looked the same on the surface, but it felt reclaimed. Mine again. I unpacked slowly, putting away summer clothes that now carried salt air memories. Then I checked my phone properly for the first time in weeks. No new messages from Mom, no calls from Preston. The group chat silent since my last photo. They'd gone quiet after the initial storm, perhaps realizing pursuit was pointless or too exhausting amid their own mess. That silence confirmed what I already knew: it was time to make it permanent. I opened settings and blocked Mom's number, then Preston's. Deleted the family group chat entirely. Unfollowed related accounts on social media. No dramatic announcements, just clean cuts. Any future attempts would hit walls. I wasn't available for negotiation or guilt anymore. In the weeks that followed, fragments of fallout reached me indirectly. Aunt Helen, ever the neutral observer with ears in every circle, called one afternoon for a casual catch-up. She didn't pry about my trip, but shared what she'd heard through her church friends and neighborhood talks. The story had spread quietly but widely, the unexpected drop-off gone wrong, kids in the cold, quick retreat. People sympathized with the children mostly, but questions lingered about planning and communication. Invites to Mom's usual events dried up. Book club mentions shifted, coffee meetups excluded her without explanation. She became the one with family issues, polite smiles hiding distance. Helen mentioned Preston and Lana, too. The sudden financial strain from canceled workdays and extra childcare costs piled on existing pressures. Arguments that started over the holidays lingered, turning into bigger talks about roles and support. They separated temporarily. Lana moved back with the kids to her parents for space. Preston staying in their house. Not dramatic divorce yet, but a clear fracture from stress they hadn't anticipated. I listened without comment, feeling no satisfaction or regret, just acknowledgement that actions have consequences. Helen ended with, "Things are tense over there. Hope it settles." I thanked her for the update and changed the subject. One evening, months later, scrolling idly, I landed on Mom's old Facebook profile through a mutual friend. A post from 2 years back popped up in memories, the framed Christmas photo hanging proudly, everyone clustered happily around the glowing tree. Smiles, wide arms linked perfect holiday cheer. And me, absent from the frame entirely. I stared at it longer than I expected. The old sting flickered briefly, then faded. Because now, looking around my own space, quiet, organized on my terms, filled with things I chose, I saw the contrast clearly. For the first time, I stood in the center of my own picture. No edges, no corners, no supporting role. The lesson settled: deep boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. Self-respect doesn't require proving worth through sacrifice, and no one gets to treat your time as disposable just because it's convenient for them or because you happen to be ran roi. Life since has been steadier. Work flows without interruptions I once allowed. Plans are mine to make. Holidays approach without dread, only choice. I don't wonder if they've changed or if bridges could rebuild. Some distances are healthy. The frame I'm in now fits perfectly, and it's all mine.